So I just wrapped filming Phillip Phillips' new music video, Before I Loved You. For those of you who don't know who that is, he is American Idol winner in 2012. And soon after he won, he had two massive hits that you have probably heard everywhere in every commercial and movie and whatever. It was Home and Gone, 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 and several others. He's taken a little bit of a hiatus since then, but is coming back in full swing and has a new album coming out. And I shot his new music video. So this is how we made it, and let's get into it. So real quick, I just want to cover the gear we used on this shoot. I shot with the red Komodo with an Atomos Shinobi as the monitor. We had CP3 lenses from Zeiss. Then I had my first AC just rig up a wireless focus puller on it. And I want to say it was the Nucleus. I'm not sure which one. But he had the Teradek on it and it worked out really well. The rig was super clean. We just had a base plate with rails. We could do some handles, things like that. So swapping between everything was really efficient and quick. So the treatment for this music video was pretty simple and straightforward because we didn't have a lot of time to film it. And it mainly revolves around two main locations with Phil and then a location for two couples that are kind of like the side stories of the video. The main two locations with Phil was a 70s style motel set, and the other one was a greenhouse with tons of plants, really like old vintage actual wood framed windows. So jumping into that motel set, it was shot at Warren Studios in downtown Nashville. Warren Studios is awesome. They have several film sets that kind of break apart and don't have ceilings on them, so you can kind of light it however you want. So within that motel set, there's three main scenes that we go through with Phil. One at the table with him sitting down and writing things into a notebook, him on the bed playing guitar and then standing up, and then a close-up on his face, and then him in the bathroom kind of like laying in the bathtub with a top-down shot. So the first shot you see in the music video is him sitting on the bed playing guitar and performing, and this was like kind of the main cutback that we went to. And as far as lighting for this shot, the first thing that is pretty obvious is that fake window right there. We shot a 300X through it with a Fresnel attachment on it, and had some shears in front of it just to diffuse that light a bit. And then just to wrap that window light around his face a little bit more, we had a 6x or an 8x white bounce, and we had a 300X bouncing off of that kind of wrapped around the front of his face, but it seemed like the window was really just that soft and well lit. So the movement for the scene on the bed was all handheld. We just did a tight, a medium, and then a standing kind of medium shot with him getting a little bit more passionate without his guitar. So we had a few takes here to cut in between and just get some different angles and some good coverage there, and really wanted to get dynamic with the handheld movement, a little bit of shake, things like that. And the mediums and wides, you can really see the set and the vibe of the motel room. So yeah, really aesthetic, really moody, and really happy with how this one turned out. So moving on to the second main scene in the motel, he is sitting at this table writing in a notepad. And mainly I wanted to give him an action to do, and but the purpose was he was writing the song or writing words that kind of things he was before he had met that special someone, right? I planned on cutting in more shots or close-ups of the paper of him writing on it, but I just didn't really fit with it, and I kind of wanted to keep the pacing right. So it was more of like a moody like songwriting scene basically, or you can take it however you please. But then the added factor of him burning the paper when he talks about playing with fire in the song, I think just kind of added something to it, gave him something to do, made it a little bit more interesting than him just performing or singing. I remember directing him to really look up and play around with looking distressed or passionate and things like that, and I think that really kind of helped sell the scene a little bit. And as far as lighting for this one, we obviously have a couple practicals here. We have the bathroom doors open in the back left of the frame. That practical came with the set, and it was already kind of like this ugly greenish, yellowish color, and the color grade just kind of pulled it out even more. And then we have that lamp practical in the background and the TV on the right side of the frame with just static on it. Just gives some texture and some movement in the background there. We were keying Phil with a 300X, I believe, that was shooting down onto the table in front of him and reflecting back up into his face. That's just kind of a natural way to boost like an overhead like chandelier light. And the camera movement on this scene was done with a Dana Dolly in front of Phil. I believe it was a 7-foot track rack, and we had a Connor fluid head attached to it so I could really smoothly pan left and right and tilt up and down if I needed to. And that's how we got that really smooth cinematic parallax effect where I was trucking to the left and then also panning to the right, and that just gave like a really nice parallax around him, made this scene a little bit more interesting since he's not actually performing with a guitar or moving a lot. And then moving on to the third scene of the motel set, we have Phil kind of lazily sitting in the bathtub. This bathroom was part of the motel set, and I just thought it was super cool, kind of grungy and cinematic looking. So we just grabbed a few takes here just to see if we could, use it as filler or whatever. And I think it added something to the video. And the lighting for this was super simple, honestly really ghetto. We took a light stand and extended the legs out and hung it off like the rafters of the ceiling because there is no, ceiling on this set. And I think we attached a Nanlite Pavo tube to it, and that was kind of like the supplemental top-down lighting. And I might have had one of my crew members just Hollywood another Nanlite Pavo tube off to the right of the frame just to kind of give him a little bit of fill and a catch light in his eyes there on his face. We did a take top down where I very dangerously stood on a bunch of apple boxes and held a very, very heavy rig up over my head. And yeah, I don't recommend that. That was not the safest thing to do. And so that was basically it for the motel set. Again, the set was awesome. I think it was really the bread and butter of the video. But the second location with Phil was also a hard hitter. We went to this greenhouse that was full of plants and really vintage glass and wood frames, and it was just basically made out of a bunch of old windows, which was super cool. A lot of character to it, a lot of texture, great for video. I had this idea to hang like 80 plus Polaroids of couples and cute kind of nostalgic photos. And then my wife, who is like a PR, marketing, social media, person, she had a fantastic idea when I was writing the treatment that Phil should reach out to his followers and have them all send in photos of them and their loved ones. We would print these fake Polaroids out of all his followers and hang them around him as he performed in the music video. One, it is an easy way to get a bunch of couples to print out and make Polaroids of. And then it also lets them know a music video is coming out, so it's great marketing. And they want to see themselves in the video, so they're going to go watch the video whether they make it into the video or not. Really, shout out to my wife for a genius idea. So the way that we did the Polaroids, I just took glossy photo paper and took all the couples' photos, went into Lightroom, made them look all muddled and grainy and like a Polaroid would. And then I had my wife put it in InDesign, and she laid them out into 8.5 by 11 sheets of the photo paper. We printed them out, and then we got chopping with a chopping machine, so all the lines are perfectly straight, and we had like 80 Polaroids in no time. So I had what I think is a great idea and took these 1x2 pieces of wood from Home Depot, and I think they were about 8 foot across, which was perfect for the width of this greenhouse. And I just taped the Polaroids to these slats of wood, and I had about 4 or 5 of them lined up from front to back. And I knew that like the front had to have a space in the middle for Phil to be seen, and the two next to him had to have a space in the middle, but the two in the back had Polaroids all the way across. And this just enabled me to know exactly where the Polaroids were going to end up and to have full control over it. It also made transporting these to the set really easy. It was a little bit of a hassle to make. My wife and I had a big taping and cutting fishing line night, but we made some margaritas and made the best of it, and it was super fun. And as far as lighting for this scene, I knew I wanted some kind of sunset coming through the back of the greenhouse. Unfortunately, we just had two 300Xs and a 400 watt joker bug, which is daylight balanced. So I basically shot daylight, so 5600 Kelvin roughly. I just set my camera to like the highest white balance you can do, and then in Resolve I color graded to make it look a little bit more warm and sunsetty. We basically just lined up those three lights behind the greenhouse off to the left of the frame, and it created some nice rays coming in and like a top left hand corner flare. We hazed out the greenhouse, of course, and yeah, through the plants and the haze it just looked really good. All the Polaroids kind of lit up from the back, and it was really beautiful. I think this scene really captured the song and really gave it the look it needed, you know? So that was basically it for Phil. Pretty straightforward, a lot of performance stuff for him, but to have kind of like a story element to this music video and kind of break up the performances, I had two couples kind of play like a side story in it. And to introduce these couples into the video, I thought it'd be cool if there was a Polaroid of them hanging in front of Phil as he performed, and the camera kind of focuses in on it and then punches through the Polaroid and turns into like real life, if you will. And the way I did that was on set with each couple, I filmed a frame on my red Komodo of whatever I wanted them to do, and then I went back with an actual Polaroid camera and took the same frame with the Polaroid camera. Now, obviously there's different optics and lenses within a Polaroid camera and whatever lens I was using with my Red Komodo, but within Resolve I was able to make it look and match up pretty well. So it's basically just a fake zoom in on the Polaroid shot and a match cut with the clip that I took on my Komodo. A couple effects like an RGB split and a prism blur and some directional blur, a little bit of speed ramping, and some fake camera shake, and basically it looks like the camera flies through a Polaroid. So the first couple is basically just hanging out in their living room, dancing, being cute. It's kind of a sunsetty feel. For lighting on this one, I threw up shears in the window behind them and actually laid some Nanlite Pavo tubes back there just to make it seem like daylight, because we shot this at nighttime actually. The window to the left of the frame, I had a aperture 300X shooting through it, and then just to kind of fill in the room and make it seem like daylight, I had the Amaran F22C, which is a 2x2 light mat, set to a warm temperature and kind of shot that up into the ceiling and kind of at them with a half-stop diffusion on it. And yeah, it kind of gave, you know, the illusion of this like sunset warm kind of feel, because I really wanted these to be like very slow motion and, you know, feelsy shots. So I had the second couple driving around in a vintage Mercedes and kind of being cute at sunset, traveling and being free and in love. So I luckily have a friend who has a vintage Mercedes. You can rent it for your next video shoot. So I met my boy out there and we just shot with this couple, driving around, dancing to music, things like that. And yeah, this one was pretty straightforward, but I think the shots came out really nice for this one. All right, guys, that's it for this behind the scenes. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something, or just at least mildly entertained. I appreciate you guys watching my stuff, and get over there and check out that music video. Show Phil some love. Go get some streams for him on Spotify. And don't forget to subscribe over here so you don't miss more videos like this, and I will see you guys next week.